everyone. Welcome to another amazing episode of Elevating Your Life. And today is truly going to be elevating. I am so honored to share with you today Dr. Ric Neo. He has a PhD in political science from the University of Hong Kong. He has published widely in the scholarly field of disinformation. Dr. Ric Neo is a spiritual teacher with a decade of practicing occult experience and a deep expertise in a wide range of Western and Eastern esoteric, occult, and spiritual arts. His purpose on earth is to raise the consciousness of society and to assist in the awakening of those who are ready. He ministers daily online on enlightenment and higher spirituality to a global audience. Dr. Neo also operates Neo Spirituality, a spiritual consultancy where he works with clients and students using an integrated East, West, and Yin Yang approach. He is the author of the amazing book, Face to Face with Karma. Oh, welcome, Dr. Ric.
Hello, Paula. Hello, my dear. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And that was quite a lengthy introduction. Absolutely no need for that. I'm just a fellow brother of every one of us. So I'm a spiritual teacher and a light worker based in Singapore. So I'm here to be with you, my dear fellow light worker, Paula, and to share about my new book, Face to Face with Karma, in addition to whatever topics about awakening, about spirituality that we'll be diving into. So thank you, and I'm really excited and happy to be here.
You're so welcome. Well, first off, and I'm so excited, your book is so amazing. What prompted you to write this book? And tell us, for people that aren't familiar with karma, tell us about that.
Right. Okay, so I'll start a little bit with the history of the book so we all have a little context about it. So I actually did not set out to write a book. So what happened was about 2 years ago, I did a series of plant medicine retreat, including ayahuasca. So and during the sessions, right, they were really intense, and I was put through several nights of visions concerning karma specifically. So I came face to face in my vision with an entity or an energetic entity that can only be described as that you intuitively understand is karma, or is the energetic body of karma. So during the few nights of visions, right, again, as you know, with the visions, right, they get really intense, and there's no way you can run. You only have to overcome it by surviving through it. So I was put through visions of how karma is created, how we are all connected energetically, and more importantly, I saw the karma in my life. I saw how I've acted selfishly in the past, when I was talking to my parents. I was less patient, I was not very compassionate. When I was being with people who needed my help, sometimes I was impatient, and little bits of so-called transgressions, even though they were not really particularly serious, but I felt a deep sense of regret and shame because, again, I see how everyone is connected and everyone is in our life to assist us in our own awakening, regardless if they play the role of the antagonist, or they might be your nasty teacher, they might be the person, your boss who bullies you, but all of them agree to serve a role on a soul level to give you a catalyst to choose love and to learn from the experience. So I saw my own karma, but more importantly, I was given intuitive downloads of what karma actually means. And one of the things that I remembered very, very specifically is that we do not escape karma. Again, this is something that's covered widely in scriptures, right? They all say, God counts every single strand of hair, everything's recorded in what we understand to be the Akashic records. So I was shown very clearly why that is the case, because ultimately we are our own recorders of our own karma. So there's no escaping our own witness of what we do in our life. So, and again, karma is not a system of judgment. Karma is it's something that you observe and record for yourself so that you will be able to learn from whatever dark experiences that you've decided to partake in. So again, you are own record of karma. So it's not some harsh God or harsh judge, watching our transgressions and coming in to stop us or punish us if we stray off the path. That's not how it works. So it's simply a very neutral system of us observing what we do, and if we have incurred, like we've hurt other people, right, that will always come back to ourselves because, as you know, my dear Paula, we are all connected. On the highest law is the law of unity, the law of one, in which we are all part of the same consciousness. So it's almost like me hurting you, right, will be like my left hand hurting my right hand. I can get away with it temporarily, but it all comes back to ourselves on the higher level because we record our own karma. So this was something that was shown very clearly to me in my visions. But aside from that, after a while, after all the very, very heavy and deep stuff, I was shown that I myself have alleviated or have unwounded most of my karma, and that and henceforth I was to be, I had to make sure that my service to other people was impeccable. So as a result of these visions, right, I didn't immediately set out to write a book. So immediately I started to apply the visions I received in my life. So I had to act better because now I knew better. So I was held to a higher level of conduct because that's how spiritual law works. If you know something, you have to live accordingly, lah. So and even doing very minuscule things like interacting with people, or like even not washing my own dishes and things like that. I was very mindful because I knew that I had to do to others what I want to do for myself, and I knew that every single thing was literally being observed by my own higher self. So I'm sure, my dear Paula, you've heard of I think near-death experiences, right, where people always will put through the life review. So my experience was, and during the life review, I was shown that you would record and you would see for yourself all the little things that you've done that when you thought you could get away with it. So that was how and anyone who's mindful of karma and who is aware of how karma truly works would be held up to that standard. And then I had to apply that in my life. So subsequently, a few months later, right, I was, I guess intuitively, I was pushed towards compiling a book of what I have experienced. And I thought, again, the point of the book really wasn't to be some bestseller or anything. No, it's basically to share what I was given by God, and also and even if one person benefits from it, right, that's all it takes, because God is in everyone, and as you heal one person, you heal the entire world. So that so that was really the story of how the book came about, and also a little bit of like the visions that I received during the whole experience. But the key thing again I want to emphasize is that karma, it's we will feel ashamed for our transgressions, but ultimately the presence of karma, or like the energy of judgment, right, it's not judgment, but it's more like a very benevolent and understanding energy. So it's we ourselves feeling ashamed for ourselves. So nobody else is judging us. Like our higher self, we can call it God, we can call it Ma'at in ancient Egyptian, we can call it Saturn in astrology, but ultimately the so-called arbiter of karma, right, is nothing but love, and is nothing but compassion. It's ourselves who hold ourselves to that high regard. Okay, so my dear, sorry for the whole monologue, but I just want to share how the book came about.
I love that. And so basically, and this is kind of something I'm not sure I totally understood that. The karma is what we're creating inside us. So if we do something we know we really shouldn't do and think we got away with it, we really didn't, because that's inside us. When we do an act of kindness and caring, that's creating karma inside us. It's not like a cloud up there that's going to rain karma on us. Is that correct?
Exactly, you're absolutely right, my dear. Because again, this has a spiritual, esoteric explanation to it. Because all of us are what we call part of God. Or all of us on the highest level are one with God. That's why all the mystics say the same thing, right? The eyes through which we see God is the eyes through which God sees us. So there's no separation on the highest level. So and so everything happens within our consciousness, and everything it's witnessed by ourselves to help ourselves. Think of it as almost karma as almost like a mechanism that we created for ourselves to guide ourselves out of separation. So if you think about it, we came to Earth in order to experience what it feels like to be away from God and to be separate from one another. So only low vibration realities like Earth, right, can give us this experience of separation. And that's exactly what we came to Earth for. But the problem with this is that if we come here in separation, right, then we tend to get lost in separation. Like we can get stuck in loops of of our own creation, of our own karmic suffering. So, of our own suffering. So what happens is that karma, right? It's almost like a benevolent law of evolution where it ensures that if I hurt other people, I get to experience the flip side of it eventually. And it's through repeated experience of this inverse experience, right, that my consciousness would finally awaken to it. Like, okay, if I enjoy bullying someone, right, I'll do it. And then consequently, a few months later or a few years later, I might get bullied. And because I feel so shitty at being bullied, right, I will know how it feels like to be bullied. And therefore, I will not do it to other people. So it's almost like your soul has experienced both polarities of the experience, the aggressor and the victim. And therefore, as a result of that, you have acquired soul experience. And more beautifully, your consciousness has expanded. You know better now. So essentially, that's what karma is. It's again a law created by God, which is ourselves on a higher level, to guide ourselves in separation, to ensure that the sons and daughters of God will never remain lost forever. That there's salvation at hand through what we call the grand law of karma.
Yes. How does karma work with, how we get challenges in life that we have to get through? Are those kind of sent to us in a karma way, or is it just that what's sent to us, how we get through it, works through our karma?
This is a very beautiful question, Paula, my dear, and it's a very common one as well. So let me defer to Christ in answering this question. So Christ says, right, we come to earth with what we call a cross that we must bear. And this is exactly what karma is. So we came to earth in a set of circumstances unique to everyone. So I might be born rich or poor. The person might be born handicapped. The person might be born, blind or something like that. So everyone comes into incarnation with a set of what they call random or fated circumstances. So karma is that which dictates the circumstances. So for example, if you chose to learn certain lessons in this life, right, you would choose to be born or to incarnate yourself within a body that would afford you that ability to learn the lesson. So if, for example, I have exploited other people in the past, right, in this lifetime, maybe early in my life, right, I would be subject to the experience of exploitation. So all of us come with what we call the sins of our father. So it's not really literally our father, but the sins of our own soul experience. So that is something that is what we call karma. So again, some materialists might argue that, oh, it's random. Oh, we born, whoever's born in a rich family is just lucky. Whoever's born in a poor family is just unlucky. That can be an argument, sure, and a perspective. But we all know, if we meditate on it intuitively, that is not the highest truth. That God is perfection, and that God, that every single thing is there's a divine logic to it. So we come onto earth with a particular cross that we bear, a set of circumstances that we plan for ourselves, even though we have forgotten it when we incarnate. So that is something that's inevitable, that we have to surrender to, we have to react, and we have to choose to make the best out of our circumstances. But what we do have the power to do is our free will to choose our actions in response to the circumstances that we created for ourselves. And yes, it's beautiful because, like what Christ again says, right? We can only make two decisions. Either we choose fear or love. So in this case, right, what is the most loving decision out of our set of circumstances? A very simple analogy would be someone who has been hit by a car, right? He might go into self-blaming and hate the world, and his life will be shitty. He'll go into a dark timeline. But the equal person who has been hit by a car, right, if he chooses to bless the experience, treat it as maybe a karmic experience or maybe his own soul challenge, and he make the best out of it. He tries his best to use the experience as a way to motivate other people. So he might become a famous, motivational speaker. So, and it's in our present through our actions and our decisions that will create future karmic loops for ourselves. So again, we came with a set of baggage. Yes, deal with it, because on a higher level, these sets of baggages we come with, right, are or rather, we have to take responsibility for it, because even though we don't remember, it is something that we chose for ourselves, and this is something that we have to accept and make do with. But it's in our present, acting out of love, remember compassion, remember oneness, trying not to act from the ego, and facing our fears, that we can create a set of conditions conducive to our awakening, that conducive to our full enlightenment eventually. So that's why Buddha, Krishna, all the different Hindu scriptures, they all say the same thing, right? It's very lucky to be born. It's very lucky to have heard of enlightenment, but only in very rare cases would someone hear of enlightenment and be interested in pursuing it, because that is when they call it the blooming of your karma. Like all your different lifetimes, right, have led you up to a place where you are drawn towards what they call moksha or liberation. So it's only through acting in the present out of love and taking self-responsibility for what's happened in the past. So again, I'll give you a quick example. If like, because we're all sons of God, right? We're all part of the Creator, right? We have the ability to, you have the ability to create from your present. So by choosing actions out of love, you are going to be creating loving outcomes as compared to someone who chooses. So if you take self-responsibility for whatever happens, right, you are stepping into what we call your Christ consciousness, or what we call your at least your Creator consciousness. So instead of blaming the circumstances and outcomes, right, what happens is that you are going to create or manifest victim circumstances for yourself, because that's exactly what you are doing. You are choosing to blame the world, and therefore you are choosing to vibrate at a level of victimhood, and the universe is compelled to give you experiences of victimhood, because that is what you want through your creative mind, your faculty. So yes, I hope that was again really long answer to your question, but yes, we come with a set of karmic, I won't call them debt necessarily, but more like karmic challenges. And our mission, or one of our key purposes in life, is to overcome these challenges by choosing and acting out of love. And again, remember, we are all here to raise our consciousness, to unveil what Buddha calls our Buddha nature. And that can only happen when we are faced with challenges. If everything's perfect, I have $1 million every day, 10 girlfriends every day, what's going to happen? The consciousness will be static. There's no growth. So in a higher level, right, these challenges are here to give us the ability to expand our consciousness towards what we call Christ consciousness, which is awareness that we are part of God.
What a different perception to realize when you're going through challenges. That is huge. Yeah, that is amazing.
Exactly. That's why Christ says salvation, it's simply a matter of a change of your mind. Instead of seeing things as, oh, I'm a victim or I'm powerless, claim your place as amongst the sons of God, and recognize that you have the power to affect or to create your reality by your present actions. And it's always a matter of choosing love. So the little trick, right, is about realizing that we have the power to do so. So know how corrupted messaging from society, right, always puts us in the place of reaction. Like, oh, it's the government's fault. Oh no, it's the fault of inflation. It's the fault of the Federal Reserve. It's the fault of the blacks, the whites, or whatever. No, it's always within ourselves to choose. So being mindful that when each time we get triggered, right, being mindful that the trigger is arising in us, but that is the lower body nature. That is the nature of again, the egoic body, or what we call the animalistic body. And that is one perspective we can take, the path of fear. Or we can pause and realize that, okay, I'm being triggered by this issue, or this challenge is coming to me. I'm kind of afraid of it, but that is not the highest truth, because fear is not real in this reality. I can choose what we call the Holy Spirit's perspective, or the highest truth. So is the problem really something I should be afraid of, or is it really even a problem? Or what is the different perspective that I can take towards this situation? It's coming here to push me to respond in a way that is difficult, but will elevate my consciousness. Give you a quick example. So there's no way we can learn forgiveness unless we have been hurt by someone. So when someone hurts us, right, okay, of course, all of us, the animal body will be like, oh no, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to an eye for an eye. That is the very common animalistic reaction. But if we pause and we become mindful of the emotions, and we say, okay, I am tempted to take revenge, but is that the only option I have? And then you realize that, okay, this is actually a test for you. How can you act in a way out of love towards what's happened? So of course, it's not about sacrificing yourself, but it's about realizing that, okay, I can still forgive the person, while still telling the person that it's wrong to do so. Instead of being vengeful or trying to extract punishment and then being hateful about it. So and that is why so again, it's really about creating space for responses. That is really the key and the trick to enlightenment, because each time we create space for that, right, we can choose love, and each time we choose love, right, our energetic, our spiritual momentum increases.
Oh my
And
gosh, that is so awesome. Oh my gosh. And Dr. Ric, I would like to ask you quickly. You mentioned in the book something about the karma consequences in eating meat. Myself, I'm a vegetarian, so I'd love to have you share that if you would.
right. Sorry. Again, this is a very contentious topic.
Yes,
You'll get
yes, it is.
hit.
Everyone has their choice, yes. But
Absolutely. So and what you say is in fact the answer: choice and free will. We came into this reality to be given free will, and we can choose. So the key thing is to choose what resonates for each of us. But the key thing is to do it mindfully, to be aware that we have a choice, that eating meat is not something that is mandatory or forced on us. We have a choice. So okay, that's one thing. But the key point about eating meat is that human beings in general, we start out when we are low in consciousness, right? When we are playing around in separation, if we are when we are not aware that there's a spiritual aspect of us, right? This is typically okay. So in order to explain this very clearly, right? Let's go into in depth on what eating actually means. When you consume meat, right, you are consuming energy from the animal that has been and who did the animal eat from? From plants. And who did plants get energy from? The sun. So essentially what we are doing is consuming sunlight or energy or divine light. But if we are low in consciousness, right, we are not ready to directly receive energy from sun because it's too high in vibration. It'll burn us. So we need processing. So the first level of processing is the plants, and the second level of processing is animals. So if we are still awakening, we are not awakened yet. We are still, going through life in a material perspective, fighting for money, struggling with each other, worried about our survival. Our vibration is considered unawakened, and therefore we are not able to directly consume light. So we need processing, and animals do that job for us. So they help lower the vibration of pure sunlight into dense meat, which contains some energy still, and therefore we eat it to nourish ourselves. So there is a place for meat eaters, and definitely there's no judgment. Everything is divinely loved and blessed by God.
yeah.
Everything is loved unconditionally.
One of the reasons I stopped eating meat was because especially here in the US, there is so much animal cruelty in these animals they're born and raised in cruelty, and then they're killed for meat packing. And I felt I'm taking in that energy. That was a big reason for me. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. We have about 5 minutes left, Doctor. So please share your website, any information you want to give to everyone on how they can learn more about you, and just I'm so happy to have you here today.
Absolutely, thank you, Paula. So I'll quickly just finish up the meat part. So because I think it's important to explain this as well. So there's a place for meat eaters, but like what you said, right? When you awaken to high consciousness, right, you start to feel compassion, and you start to realize you start to be mindful of things going on in the world, like cruelty, and you're realizing that you are consuming fear energetically. So and that's what Buddha calls the bodhicitta, which is the blooming of your heart, which is what Christ calls, I think, the burning sacred heart or something. So you start to feel things, and therefore you'll be driven towards less cruel, or at least not say less cruel, but consumption habits that is less that hurts the world less in that sense. So and that's exactly what's happening for you. So there is a place for meat eaters when they're still unawakened, but so is there a place for higher for souls who are awakening to eat less meat and go towards vegetarian and aspects of less cruel, mindful diet choices made mindfully lah. So but okay, my love, thank you so much for this conversation. So I share spiritual thoughts and messages daily on my Twitter. So my Twitter, it's Neo Spirituality. So you can just Google that, x.com/Neo Spirituality, and you can contact me there. So and really my last final message really is that in this whole period of awakening, right? Ultimately, the key thing to understand is that each of us are what we call a sons of God. So and we are here to awaken ourselves to this, and that we all have the power in our hands simply by realizing that we have the power firstly, and also more importantly, taking actions out of love. We are never the slaves of our past programming. We are never the slaves of societal programming, and by choosing consciously our actions and our decisions in the present, and always trying to be mindful, think for other people, and to act from the place of love, right? We can free ourselves of all karmic bondages and all dark corruption and all dark energies and negative entities in this world. So it's simply a choice, and it always starts from our actions that will create the energetic momentum from us. So again, many of us are suffering right now in this particularly challenging period in the whole world economy and things like that. So treat all this as a catalyst and a challenge. Can you rise above it? Can you rise above and realize that all these things are nothing more than an illusion, or nothing more than a challenge for you to recognize your inner abundance compared to the scary little picture that's being depicted in our environment. So again, all of us are loved by God, and ultimately on the highest level, all of us are a part of God. So this is the final message that I would like to leave with everyone.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please share your website and any what that is, and people can check that out. And
thank you, my dear Paula. So I have you can reach me on my Twitter, Neo Spirituality. You can also reach me on my website, neo-spirituality.com. I've published 2 books. So the latest book is Face to Face with Karma, which explains a set of, or which explains in a concise and accessible manner how karma works in this reality. And my previous book, published last year, it's called The First Condition. So this is a book with a bigger scope. So in the book, I talk about why are we on Earth? What's the point? Why are we thrust in conditions of forgetfulness? We forget our origins. Why are we thrust in conditions of suffering? Oh, we came here with certain constraints, and what is the whole purpose of being on Earth? So that book brings in teachings from Kabbalah, from esoteric Buddhism, from esoteric Christianity, from Taoism, to give a very clear understanding of the purpose of our journey on Earth. Why are we here?
Doctor, thank you. I'm sorry we have to say goodbye. This has been so awesome.
Thank you so much for your hospitality, my dear Paula. Nothing but love and blessings to you and to all our viewers. Thank you so much.
Hugs and blessings, everyone.